So it's interesting how things happen.
So you have both attempted to, for instance, you're running for office, is kind of working from the inside, and you've also done plenty of stuff from the outside. Did you find one is more effective than the other? What was the attraction to being on county council and or mayor for Seattle?
Well, I had really hoped that some of these issues, like more incarceration instead of more education, that type of thing should come from the inside. We had real problems with growth in the Issaquah area. We made a film about, it's in the State Film Library, about how a school district has to cope with growth. And the growth issue in those days when I was on the school board was real. If you look up now, what is the city of Sammamish, used to be dense forest. There was one road up there, and it is now wall-to-wall development, and there was no planning in those days when they gave out the building permits to all these developers to plan for transportation, or to plan for the water supply. Issaquah was practically running out of water because of that, because the aquifer was beginning to run dry. So we had some real growth problems in Issaquah and no help from the county council. And with that background, I thought maybe from the inside it would help. It's just a real funny thing. I kept that report that we did, and it was paid for by the county council, the plan around Lake Sammamish. And when the critical areas ordinance came up again here 2 or 3 years ago, for some reason I had kept that report. I don't know why. I took it to the county council and I spoke to that critical areas ordinance. And I showed them the report. And everybody said, my goodness, I wish we had that. And I said, you have it in your files somewhere, but the council in those days refused to even look at it. So these things, sometimes it takes a long time for some work you do to come to fruition. I have learned a lot of patience in my days. When we wanted the, excuse me, the bicycle path, the first thing, and the reason for that was, first of all, transportation for the kids, and secondly, safety issue, because Lake Sammamish Boulevard was a 45-mile-an-hour state route, and it had deep ditch on one side and a drop-off towards the lake on the other. And the kids rode the bicycles to Sunset School. Well, the kids would fall into the ditch because there was practically no shoulder. And the kids on the bicycle, cars go flying by, and the kids trying to get out of the way and fall into that riprap that was in the ditches and get hurt. So we decided we're going to have to do something about it. And had a meeting at my house, and Senator Durkin came. He lived right down the street. He came and he looked at us, and I felt that he thought, well, he had this bunch of dumb women here who really didn't know what they were doing. And so he said, well, we have a good solution. We cannot put bicycle paths on the state route because we can only use state highway funds for state highways and not for unmotorized vehicles. But he said, tell you what I'll do, I'll try to get speed bumps on Lake Sammamish Boulevard. Well, speed bumps on a 45-mile road, even a dumb woman would realize that that is not a great plan. So we said, thank you very much. And I wrote to people like Volpe and everybody else, and took years. And we finally opened that first leg of the bicycle path. It was a great victory, and it did not happen overnight, and it took a lot of us working on it for a long time. Just like the Preserve Our Islands people have been working against the gravel pit over there on Maury Island for 14 years. And we're still working on it. And I do support them. I've known about them and worked with Sharon Nelson against the third runway. And so things like that are very near and dear to my heart. And they have been working on this tirelessly with very little support from our government. Our State Department of Ecology said it's okay to build a gravel barging dock on Maury Island right in the middle of the spawning grounds for salmon. So all these groups really need to have our help and our support when they go against our government, because they don't get help from our government. And that's why I thought maybe on the inside I could help, because I know that on the school board we made a lot of difference. When I got on the school board, we had 4 Birch Society members ran the schools. And one of them would say, well, I ain't had no education, but I can tell those doctors what to do. Meaning book burnings, sending out false information about what was being taught. They insisted we were teaching pornography in kindergarten, which is just absolutely ridiculous statement. And right after I first got on with another woman who was very involved in handicapped children's programs, etc., and we worked together very well. Fran Theodorson was a wonderful co-worker on the board. We went out and we recruited 3 people. One was a English professor at Bellevue Community College. One was a Boeing man. And the third one, I can't remember what he was, but suddenly we had 5 people on that board who were interested in education. We got a new curriculum director. We got new books for social studies and things. So all in all, I was 4 years on that board, and it was a great time to be on the board. And as what always happens is one thing leads to another. So I got appointed to the State Commission to change the textbooks to non-sexist language after we passed the Equal Rights Amendment here in the state. And there I met my role model, Pearl Wanamaker, who was superintendent of public instruction way back when in the McCarthy era. She got blacklisted. She was an incredible woman. She was a state senator. She was a civil engineer. And I got to room with her, and I learned more about the United States when we went out to interview people, like went to Yakima, and we spoke to a whole bunch of school superintendents and principals and coaches about the changes we saw in curriculum and in sports for women. And right down below us sat a bunch of guys who were coaches and school principals. And one of them, just kind of in a stage whisper, said, well, can't you just say it now? Susie is going to come up and say, oh, coach, I broke my fingernail. Can we have a timeout?